I'm Mandy Pryor with the Southwestern PA Business Podcast, and we are so excited to be back this month. We're bringing on Hunter Schaff with Structural Chiropractic in Bethel Park, and he's here to talk about all the things that comes to health and well-being. So Hunter, thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
I said your last name correctly, right?
Schaff, yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
And you brought me a mug, so I'm very excited. I have a new mug for the Chamber of Commerce. By the way, members, we're collecting mugs for coffees at the Chamber with your name on it, so make sure you grab one and send it over to me. So Hunter, how are you today?
Doing well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So funny story between Hunter and I. One of my board members, Zen, he decided to introduce us, and the first day I met him, I was like, we went to First Watch in Upper St. Clair, and the restaurant has this giant area of hanging incandescent lights. And I was like, well, nice to meet you. We can't sit here. And they put us at a table right underneath them because I've had light sensitivity for forever and ever. So Hunter knew every single thing I was talking about. So he made me feel very relaxed in that, hi, I just met you and we got to go sit over here now. So Hunter, it was very nice to meet you that day. We ended up talking for a very long time about all the things. He knows so much about structural chiropractic work and even more than that. So Hunter, tell me a little bit about you and how you got started in your practice.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm going to have to send this to my friends who all know that I'm obsessed with light. With that being,
I'm also now obsessed with light, so I have to be.
With that being the opener, they're like really going to get a kick out of this. So,
Yeah.
so will my wife, probably my parents as well, because I'm on them constantly about the lights that we have in our living situation. But yeah, so sorry. What was the question?
No, so tell me a little bit about you, and you just opened a practice this year.
Yeah.
So please share with everybody a little bit about what you do and why you started it.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Bethel Park. So most people who are watching this, I'm assuming, are going to know where that is. Western PA, just outside of Pittsburgh. I went to school here, grew up here, played sports here. While I was playing sports, of course, you accumulate numerous different types of physical abuse and trauma. And for me, that was through wrestling and through football. Over the years, there was, of course, there were certain hits that I can remember, certain moves in wrestling that I can remember that had an effect on me, but not one specifically. It was more like the accumulation of those that eventually led me to acquiring a neck injury. The neck injury resulted in essentially a pain that shot down into my hand. This was when I was in high school. And to make a long story short, I tried numerous different types of treatment, ice, stim, sort of the main things that you would go to after an injury like that in a school setting where we were doing our football training. And long story short, I went to a chiropractor who was a good friend of mine's dad, and he adjusted me. After one day, I could tell like something had changed, which was different from essentially all of the other treatment that I had up to that point, which was over a number of weeks at that point. And so I could tell, hey, this is something that was different. And then after a month of care going to him, I was basically pain-free, just existing. And then after a few months, I was essentially pain-free, going 100% into training, weightlifting, running, sprinting, which was where the original injury happened. So that was my introduction to chiropractic as somebody growing up here. And then prior to that, I wanted to do pharmacy as a career. Prior to that, I wanted to be a musician, of course. But then
very technical.
I had a reality check for that. So I was prior to that, I was going into pharmacy, and I thought, I want to help people. That was a big driving factor for me. I wanted to do something. I grew up a Cub Scout. I never finished my Boy Scouts, but I did.
I only made it to be a daisy. So.
Okay. So
I didn't. Oh, I was a brownie. I think briefly. I didn't like the brown color. I'm such a girly girl. I was like, brown. Ew, I quit.
Understandable.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So I had that sort of that inner drive to want to help people. I wanted to use my talents for that purpose. I was into math and science. I didn't really want to go into engineering, so pharmacy sounded like a good use of my my talents. So anyways, after that experience, I was like, oh my gosh, you can help people without drugs or surgery. I had no idea that was even a career choice.
Yeah.
So after that, I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Went into, so I grew up in the 90s, went to school in the 2000s. And then I basically I was thinking about this morning. I basically graduated high school in the early 2010s. Graduated.
Me too.
Graduated undergrad in the mid 2010s, and then graduated chiropractic college in the late 2010s in 2018. So that was the 2010s were like my educational arc essentially. Yeah. And then I practiced coming out of school. I practiced in Branson, Missouri, for all of you country western show people who are familiar with Branson, Missouri.
I actually spent a lot of time in like Farmington and St. Louis.
Okay, Farmington is like wow! Shout out to Farmington, south of St. Louis.
Elephant Rock. Did you ever go there?
Yes, I hiked there. Yes, yeah.
I jumped off the rocks there.
Oh my gosh,
I was wild like that.
That's
when I was
so funny.
9.
Pickles Springs, I think, was the hiking place that I went to all the time down there.
That's funny.
Yeah, Farmington community is going to be really hyped about that. So St. Louis, that's like eastern Missouri. I practiced out of school, had a connection with somebody in southern Missouri, like central Missouri by Arkansas. Practiced there for a little over a year. Then eventually I moved to Chicago, joined a larger company, practiced there for about a year as well. Opened a practice in Bloomington, Illinois. So shout out also to all of
You've been all over the place.
Yeah. Shout out to all of my Bloomington, Illinois patients. A brief stint in Alton, Illinois as well, which is just outside of St. Louis. And then eventually I opened a practice for that company in Central West End.
Yeah.
And I was there for about 5 years before I moved back to Pittsburgh. So Central West End, that's really where I feel like I had a great patient base and met and got to serve a lot of great people for a long time. So hopefully some of my Central West End patients will.
I love all the shout outs you're giving today.
Yes, yeah. I don't know where this is going to end up, but
that means you like your patients, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I love them. And being there for 5 years, so kind of through my story, it's like I ended up kind of bouncing around places after about a year, and you would see a little bit of follow up with people who would go through care with me, and maybe they would stick on for what I refer to as like protection care, essentially like a continued care, which in my practice is never an obligation, but something that a lot of people will choose to do. But so you would be with these people for a long period of time, and in Central West End, I had patients who were with me before they had kids, and then had multiple kids, like all throughout their time with me as patients. And
that changes things.
Yeah, I got to see people with.
I don't want to talk about kickboxing and how I can't do it anymore.
Okay, did I tell you my connection to kickboxing?
No.
Oh my gosh! So my practice was right next to a kickboxing gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I became.
That's good because I mean, with having babies, your ligaments kind of, and he'll be the actual doctor on this one. Your ligaments change. As far as I know, but I could not do kickboxing anymore. I was like and I loved it. I was doing Beachbody like after my first son, and like nope. And I ended up at a chiropractor because I had such bad hip pain. Still have hip pain off and on now, but it's sad for me.
Kickboxing is like an interesting activity that's also a great workout for a number of different reasons. But like I said, my practice was right next to a kickboxing gym, and I became good. I would say friends with the owners there. Went to them at that facility for almost the entire 5 years that I was at that practice, and trained under them. And so I had a lot of patients that were also members of that gym who then became patients, and I had patients who became gym members there. So it was a very nice like reciprocal relationship where I felt like we made.
Who doesn't want to be next to a kickboxing place if you're a chiropractor?
the guy.
I threw out my back.
Yeah.
I threw out my arm.
The owner was like, when I saw you were moving in, I was just like, yes. And I was like,
planning. That's
great,
like
I'm
the
happy
Sheets Giant Eagle gecko. If you ever notice, there's always a gecko, and then Sheets is like, boop, and right next to it. And I'm like, and it's always like the perfect spot.
Yeah.
Like it's always catching the people before they even get to the get-go that was been there. Sorry, get-go.
Yes.
Like, it's
Yes.
strategic.
Yes.
It is. I noticed that stuff.
Well, I had no choice in where that office was opening, but yeah, it was a great relationship. And yeah, for speaking to what you were talking about with pregnancy, as you go throughout a pregnancy, it does affect your ligament laxity. So there's a hormone called relaxin that you release in greater amounts later on in the pregnancy. So that's what helps essentially the pelvis open for the delivery.
I was this big, huge.
Yeah. So your body has to be able to adapt to that appropriately.
I'm this big.
Yes. So that can affect like what you do. A big part of what I did in St. Louis and Central West End, and also what I do here now with structural chiropractic, is a lot of it is rehabilitation based. So we do certain strengthening exercises as well. And so typically when I would have patients who are pregnant, I would want to have them be as physically active as possible, and do some level of physical strengthening exercises that were going to be safe for them. Obviously that's not going to be like backflips, but you're still going to be able to do some kind of.
I remember trying to get on treadmills and like falling off and be like, nope, never mind. So I'll just trudge along. Yeah.
You got to make sure it's safe, and it's kind of interesting, like I think of, I thought about them a lot this way, which was when you do workouts like CrossFit or like boxing, which is kind of what they focused on. That to me is like you're going from like a baseline of where you should be to then optimizing your general physical fitness. To me, what I do with a lot of people is I get them out of that, like that negative space of they have some kind of structural problem, whether it's a forward shift of their head, a forward shift of their hips, like we were talking about before.
I do that all the time. It's terrible.
So just getting them back to a more neutral position. And for the people who aren't familiar, posture and spinal structure aren't necessarily equivalent. So just because you have a forward shift of your head doesn't mean your neck curve is going to be a certain way. So
well, and I do this at the computer all the time. So, I mean, I've gone ahead and got one of those things, those posture wrap things that I don't wear as much as I should. But I try to tell myself, I'm like, calm down. Well, release your shoulders. Like 800 times a day, I'm like, put your shoulders down. Put your shoulders down.
Yes. So those things can be good. And for a lot of people, it depends on where they're starting at. So the end goal, from a care perspective, if you're looking at things structurally, so at my practice, what we do is precision structural correction. So we're focused on getting people back to a normal alignment as much as we can within reason. Like I've had many patients with prior surgeries. Obviously, you're going to be limited on the types of things that you can do with somebody who has their spine fused in a certain position.
Yeah.
You may have a genetic component. You may also have certain factors like prior injuries, like maybe a compression fracture or
Morton's neuroma.
That could certainly affect how you stand. Yeah. Just throw it out like
because you're always balancing on the other foot a little bit more.
Yeah. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is like a common one now that a lot of connective tissue disorders is very common now. So all of these different things, obviously you need to understand what maybe for that person normal is going to be. But there's a lot of research that shows what an established normal alignment should look like from a spinal perspective and from a postural perspective. And so that's truly our goal, is getting you to always start from a safe and sturdy position. From there, all movements can then flow. So if I'm starting in a position where my head's shifted forward, my torso's rotated, my pelvis is rotated or tipped, no movement after that is going to be as effective as if it was like, imagine if you were to, it's Pirate season right now. Shout out to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And
Go Pirates.
Go Buccos. And imagine if you were to try to take a bat and you, rather than you're in this perfect batting position, you're standing up completely straight with your arms down here.
Yeah.
How effective like batting from that position is going to be. And that's essentially what we do when we have these structural shifts and we go to try to move or walk or lift weights, squat. Right, so we're starting at a negative. That's where I was getting at earlier. We have this. I try to get people basically out from this negative space of of some kind of structural abnormality to their baseline. And that's when it's awesome to then incorporate boxing, kickboxing.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, if you're going into those things, those activities, and you're dealing with these different structural issues, it's going to be like the chain's just going to break at its weakest link. So you're going to start to notice, oh, I was kickboxing and now I have neck pain, or now I have hip pain, or now I have knee pain.
But it could be your whole body, like different areas that are causing that to go too.
It's probably that person's, what individually they have going on probably has a lot more to do with their specific injury than the specific activity that they're doing.
Yeah.
Most people, like, there's a reason why these sports exist. It's because we should be able to naturally perform a lot of the movements. Like golf is another one where people will say, oh, I'm golfing and I've been dealing with this like tweak in my back. And there's a lot of people that golf and don't have back problems. You know what I mean? So what's different about them than you? Typically it comes down to something's just been left unaddressed or unnoticed, and that's why you have this recurring problem.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so what do you do? What can somebody expect when they come in to see you?
So at my office, I have a no obligation consultation that I always offer everybody. So I do a complimentary consultation. In that, like any doctor's office, everybody's favorite part is filling out your intake paperwork. So I have them do
so
that.
Fun.
It's
I love
the best.
it. That's what I look forward to every time.
Yeah. So I have a comprehensive intake form that they'll fill out. Typically, we can do that ahead of time, though, so you don't even need to do that in my office. I can send that to them. So
I'm also the queen of not filling that out till I get to the office. I'm like, oh, yeah, all right, I'll fill it out when I get there.
So if that's the case, right, no worries. You could
tell
obviously
me
do it
15
then.
minutes before you actually need me there, so I can come in and do it.
Yes. Usually we can plan around it. So the purpose for that, of course, is just to understand somebody's health history. Then I'll discuss a little bit about my office. I'll typically show them like some of the equipment I use and explain just what I do. What I do is very different from like what a lot of people consider as like conventional chiropractic. So when a lot of people think of like the cracking of the joints and the bones, I typically avoid doing a lot of that, and I stick to the structural care.
Yeah.
For most cases, like some people that's appropriate, and not to say that's bad, because it gets a lot of people a lot of great results. And in fact, whenever I was first introduced to chiropractic, it was in more of a conventional chiropractic sense, and I loved it. So, but with my focus, like again, we're trying to improve spinal structure, and a lot of times you have to approach that a little bit differently. So I'll just explain a little bit about my approach to them. One of the things that I also do with my consultation, again, this is just included, is I do a 3D scan, which I think you might have seen the scanner, but you didn't see it in action.
No, I have not got scanned in a 3D way.
So, well, we're always scanning 3D with our eyes, right?
That's true. That's true.
So
Hunter, I walked in, he was like, "Zzz."
Yes,
I'm like
Superman.
He's like, don't worry, it's part of my structural chiropractic.
Yes. 3D structural analysis can occur with the eyes, but no. So I have a 3D camera. It's called an RGB depth camera. Similar to, if anybody has a Tesla, it's similar.
Sounds serious. Sounds like major there. I like it.
Well, there's also LiDAR 3D cameras. So this isn't LiDAR, if anybody is familiar with that. So this is, again, an RGB depth camera. It can sense depth. This is essentially the same technology that Tesla uses for their cars too.
They're fun to drive, by the way.
Yes. I've only been in as a passenger, never a driver.
It's pretty incredible to drive one.
Yeah.
And like taking your foot out, like you're like, wait, I have to put my foot, wait. It's a hard, you feel like you're going to wreck the first time.
I never learned stick, so I mean, Tesla would probably be a jump for me.
I mean, it was an automatic. It's just, what was it? Like your car's always going unless you brake or something. I forget.
Yes.
It's been a while since I drove
engine.
my Tesla. I'm just kidding. It's been a couple years, but it's high tech. And that's what you're offering, like through your imaging.
Yeah. So the nice thing about this, so that's what the camera does. It's a 3D camera, but the nice thing about the software that I use is it will analyze someone's neutral standing posture. We do this in 4 different positions for the 3D scan. It'll analyze their 3D posture, and then it'll make some predictions based off of an algorithm that they use that's been validated in a few different research studies. They use this algorithm to predict what their spinal structure is going to look like. And it'll also use that postural analysis to predict where they have pain points at. So it'll say where their muscles are tight at
Well, and
or
it's
weak
true
at.
because people get the knot in the same place, not in the same place. So what's off? Like
Yeah.
elsewhere. It can't just be, oh, this is where your knot is. Or
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's that's like a very good point to make, because with that, somebody has a problem. A lot of times if they're coming to me, they either want to change their appearance, like posturally, or they have some kind of complaint. Like I have neck pain, or I have headaches, or I have back pain or knee pain, or whatever it is. And the nice thing about this is it will do an objective analysis of their posture and make those predictions without any of my input. So I don't have anything to say.
So take a load off.
Yeah.
Relax, Hunter.
And
The
yes,
machine's got it.
that's where we're at in the big 2-6. And with that, it will highlight essentially where their problems are. And you'd be shocked. It's like almost always, if they have neck pain, it's like lights up red, their neck. Or if they have right knee pain, it's like the whole right leg is like is red. Yeah, it's very accurate. When I was originally using it,
is it pulling like inflammation? Is that what it's looking for?
No. There are
like heat factor.
Yes,
in that?
There are some machines that do that. Not 3D cameras, but there's different infrared cameras that do that. But this is not that. This is literally making these predictions based off your alignment, which is, it's honestly the best way to make these predictions. And obviously, I'm biased because of what I do, but
your posture is excellent. I'm like, I have to like.
He's like, yeah, I'm going to be judged a lot if I don't have very good posture.
I'm terrible. I know. I'm terrible with posture.
I'll be sitting upright for
the crossing of my leg and the purse over the shoulder, which is like a whole thing.
So it's just a good predictor of like where you're going to have your pain points at because of how important it is for the overall tension on your body. So I just a quick like anecdote with that. What I've been doing is anytime I do these scans, if I also end up doing a full evaluation with them, I'll always compare the X-rays with the actual scans predictions. And and again, posture and structure, they're not always one-to-one, but they are correlated. So obviously, if your posture is one way, your spinal structure has a few potentials, but it can't be completely opposite. You know what I mean? So I'll correlate these things like just in my own office, just for kicks and giggles. And this is what I like to do in my free time.
Do you just like sit around your office scanning? You're like, okay, and this?
Yes.
How is this scanning today?
I'll say, what is this angle and what is this measurement? And
well, and it can be a lot of factors that contribute. And I mean, that's why we were talking about light sensitivity. Like that can be part of posture, right? That can be part of what you're doing or what you can help with.
Well, yeah. So your sensitivity to light can be affected by your neurological strain. And so kind of to put it simply without like getting into the boring weeds of neurology, if you have some sort of structural shift that puts strain or stress on nerves within the neck, for example, that can affect how your eyes are perceiving
depth and
and functioning essentially. So I'm trying to put this as succinct as possible, but essentially there's a really great paper. I think I might have sent you this, but there's a really great paper that talks about some of the different mechanisms that might drive this with eye strain specifically. But what they get into is essentially if you've had a history of trauma, like car accidents are probably the most common.
I'm the concussion queen of 2026.
Okay, concussions are another one. Prior sports injuries, falls are another big one. But some prior trauma that involved in like head or neck physical force, you can essentially cause the ligaments to exceed their normal threshold. They're moving or bending or flexing too much, like what's common and what people often call whiplash.
Yeah.
And that can drive this like abnormal neurological input that interferes with the body's essentially their ability to regulate their eye function properly. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. Some of it has to do with internal pressure within the head. Some of that has to do with what's called a bombardment of afferent signaling. So
Oh, wow, he went too far. I was with you until you did that.
I'll pull back. So essentially, that just means that you're getting a lot of noise, a lot of neurological noise. Imagine like the electrical signal is just a bunch of white noise rather than a clear, we're talking on the phone and you can hear me clearly.
You can hear everything.
Yeah, and so neurologically that's happening and affecting the eyesight as well. And that can all be influenced by the neck. So with light sensitivity, that can be affected by the neck. And I'm sure, and I just don't know off the top of my head, or I haven't really looked into it.
It's funny off the top of your head. It's clever.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I like it. That was
chiropractic jokes.
That was on purpose. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I'm sure it's like a bidirectional relationship. Like light also affects your spine to some extent.
I believe it. I believe
I
lots
do know
of factors.
There, interestingly, most people are familiar with light as it reflects, as it pertains to vitamin D. So like you get UV exposure. Most people in Pittsburgh, we have a few weeks where we don't get any UV exposure at all from the sun. But for the majority of the year, we'll get UV from the sun, primarily midday. But in the summertime, it's for a good portion of the day.
Yeah.
That's important for your vitamin D production within your skin, and then your circulating vitamin D within your blood as well. Vitamin D plays an important role in bone development and growth. It's very commonly known with people who have like osteoporosis, brittle bones, that they need to be out in the sun more to help with that. They need to avoid wearing sunscreen for at least a portion of the day so that they can get adequate vitamin D production.
And it doesn't have to be a ton. And people think that because I'm a big on dermatology and all of that too, but it's 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
It's not
I'm not saying
lay out in the sun all day without sunblock. It's like 15 minutes, which God gave you natural skin protection to do that.
Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking to that, scoliosis, I know I was reading a study maybe a year ago that was on some of the different, what's called the etiological factors of scoliosis. What goes into somebody getting scoliosis, which for people who aren't aware, it's sort of the curving of the spine that you see.
I had a friend in high school who ended up with scoliosis.
One of the things that they saw was where you are on the planet Earth determined your risk factor for that, and they correlated that to also vitamin D production. So if you were in places where you were getting less UV exposure, you had higher risk for scoliosis, which was kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
So
is it like places? I mean, obviously Pittsburgh's pretty gloomy. Even the north, if you're inside more.
I would say
northern countries.
So certainly like when you get to our latitude and more north and vice versa, if you go down to the southern hemisphere and you get further away from the equator, you're going to have this problem. I would say actually the bigger problem when it comes to light exposure, and again, people are just going to get a kick out of that. It has a lot more to do, in my opinion, with how much time we spend indoors, whether that's because of work or that's because of just we don't want to be outside. It's too uncomfortable to be hot or sweaty, or because we don't want to be outside, especially in the wintertime because it's too cold. I think that plays a much bigger role in like a vitamin D deficiency than our latitude in Pittsburgh. We have plenty of time to get adequate vitamin D.
We just don't want to go outside because it's not perfect out.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is either it's inconvenient, like we just have too many things going on, we're working, or we got to take care of the kids or whatever it is. Or yes, it's like uncomfortable, so we don't want to be outside with our skin exposed whenever it's like 10 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, unless you're skiing, and that's fine. Unless you're on a ski hill and you got a nice hot
chocolate. Yeah. That's how we should be all getting our UV exposure.
It is, and it's a mindset thing to get out there, because once you're out there and you're sweating or something, like say you're doing like cross country skiing or something like that,
shoveling your driveway.
Start
stripping off.
I have nightmares from shoveling my driveway last year. Like I will never forget that excruciating snowstorm that we had.
Yes.
Probably why I'm holding my head right now as we speak, because I probably pulled
Then
that
you start
out.
looking into automated plowing devices for your driveway.
Well, we don't get that often.
Yeah.
Where it was, oh my gosh, it took me hours.
Yeah.
Of like, and I'm sweating and it's freezing. So
Yeah.
anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I went off target there.
So just to kind of bring it full circle, I'm sure there's a bidirectional relationship where light affects your spine's development, and certainly your spine affects your sensitivity to light as well.
Yeah.
But like you said, health isn't necessarily one thing. It's certainly not only
Well, and if you talk about light and you talk about eyes and light sensitivity, then you can talk about audio, because then I do like that by audio. It's the two, like it's supposed to be relieving from anxiety and stuff. Well, I noticed whenever I listen to it.
Binaural.
Binaural, thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong.
Yeah.
I noticed my eyes move with the music.
Yeah.
Involuntarily.
Okay.
So it's like, what's that?
Yes.
So, I have obviously light sensitivity. I'm like, now this is doing this. Is that good or is that bad? Like,
I mean, we all intuitively know.
It's so amazing. Like the human body, like the more you know about it and all the things that function together.
Yes.
Or misfunction, which you go see Hunter at Structural Chiropractic. And
yeah.
He can help.
And I don't know how much time we have, but there's so many interesting rabbit holes to go down when it comes to like health and life. And I started as in undergrad, I was a biology pre-med major. So I had a unique focus of biology with a lot of my early studies. So I studied things that don't really pertain to chiropractic, like botany and, to a certain extent, ecology, and certainly like microbiology classes, zoology classes. So all of these things kind of shape the way that I look at humans. And I really do think we are a wild animal that's living in this, modern society. And so a lot of, but if you go back centuries and you look at some of the anthropological data, you'll see like, what did people do? They sat around fires, they socialized, they played drums.
They were outside in the garden. Like, how much better do you feel when you're gardening? Or like outside just walking in the grass than walking around your house cleaning.
There's garden therapy that exists, right? It's just like music therapy. And so, when you think about like some of the reasons why people have the problems that they do now, from the structural standpoint, like what does our modern life look like? Are we sitting all day? Are we hunched over a computer? Are we looking down at our phones all the time? Similarly, are we getting enough social interaction? Are we going outside? Are we listening to positive things like beats? Like you hear some of these like classic, some of these not really modern civilizations, and a lot of them have like drumming. And why is that?
Well, and that's why I listen to reggae, is because especially if I'm high anxiety, it's not necessarily like I lived at the beach for a while, so I automatically think, waves, beat, beat.
Yeah.
But it's also a very slow beat. It's
rhythmic.
Very rhythmic. It's a slow beat. It reminds me it is slow. Like, and I know if I'm playing like 80s and 90s, like pop music, I'm going to be up and dancing. And if I play Norah Jones or something like that, I'm going to weep in my car for a while. Like, it makes me sad to listen to that. So
yeah. And every mother in here can relate to this. Is like when you have a little baby, you have to rock them.
Yeah.
Right? You have to rock them. There's a certain pace. You can't like bounce them like crazy and expect them to settle down. You have to gently rock them. There's an innate need for some of these things. Like
I still pick up dogs and rock them like they're babies.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and I'm like, stop it.
Yeah. So that's a wormhole we could go down. But again, certainly health isn't one thing, right? It's not just working out. It's not just eating well. It's not just going outside. It's not just social interaction. It's not just spinal alignment. But the perfect marriage or blend of all of these things. And for everybody, the amounts that you need are going to be different. So the need that I try to fill for people is certainly to be a soundboard for some of those other things, that as much as I can. But what I've noticed is there's a huge deficit in awareness of structural problems. There's a huge deficit and everybody knows that they have pain. They can feel it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, in my opinion, not great. Uh, there's not great explanations for why these things are happening, and specifically for why I've gotten better in the past with this treatment, but the same pains recurred.
Yeah.
So what's happening with that? And so I hope that when people see me, they look at a different. Um, they come to me for a different view, a different perspective on where their pain's coming from, why it's still recurring, and a lot of times I can have some explanations for that go back to their actual structure. No different than something like somebody who's a structural engineer would look at a house's foundation.
Yeah. It's
So
true.
I try to look at things like that.
That's a good perspective.
Thank you.
And so what type, obviously people, if they have been to a chiropractor, what types of people are you? I mean, obviously for any smaller aches and pains that maybe are recurring, but who else? Who else is a prime candidate to go try your services, get the free consultation?
Yeah. So I would say anybody that has recurring problems is probably the person I would love to see the most, because typically these are people, and I've seen this a lot in my career, is it's like my back pain. Oh, it's like my back pain or my neck pain or my shoulder pain. They have this,
Yeah.
it's their problem that they know that they always get, but they don't understand that other people don't get that problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
So
agree.
to them, it's a normal thing. Like this is my neck pain again.
Well, I've had hip pain for kickboxing.
Right.
It was since kickboxing, now my kid's 10. So 9 years off and on. It comes and goes. It just depends. But, I've been to a few different sports orthopedics, all that stuff. And it's still there.
Yeah. And
It loves my hip. It just wants to hang out there.
And, to be clear, there could be obvious reasons why you just have to have some recurring discomfort because of some, tissue problem that's going on, and that might not be fixable. But a lot of times there's just, if you look at it from a different perspective, there's a very simple explanation for why things are happening that can oftentimes be very simple solutions. Whether it's just like a leg length discrepancy to speak to like a hip problem. It could be if not a leg length discrepancy, it could be like the trunk is shifted towards one side or the other that's causing more strain on one side of the body. So again, just to go back to your original question, is like people who've had this recurring problem, especially people who've had even success in the past with prior treatments, but they're still dealing with this nagging issue. There's probably just another layer deeper where we can take a look at the structure and get down to exactly why the problem's recurring, and then come up with a solution that's actually reasonable to improve that. So you don't have like the same problem recurring. You can certainly get new ones in the future because you never know what life is going to throw at you. But I try to leave all of my patients without the same problem.
Well, that's good.
Right.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And it was eye-opening. Hopefully we do this again in the future. And please, we'll put out his information with this podcast so that you can contact him. What are your hours of operation?
So I'm open right now Monday through Friday. Currently with where I'm at, we just opened in April. So I'm currently going from 10 to 6 o'clock. Monday through Friday.
Very nice.
And you can go to my website. My website's structuralchiropit.com. Or you could go to structuralchiropgh.com. And just because, Pitt is the official, but PGH that's where the Pittsburghers are in their hearts.
It's true.
With the abbreviation for Pittsburgh. But anyway, so Structural Chiro Pit. If you go on my website, there's a link at the top to schedule a consultation. Once you do that, I'll reach out personally and just talk with you a little bit ahead of that appointment, make sure everything's good to go. And it's as simple as that. So, and of course, anybody's welcome to just stop in as well. I'm on 184 Couch Road, Suite 400 in Bethel Park, right by South Hills Village, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. So it's
right across from PNC Bank.
Right across from the bank. It's a pretty convenient location for anybody in the South Hills to get to. And I would be happy to have a conversation with you and be a resource as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Southwestern PA Business Podcast. We appreciate you tuning in again, and hopefully we'll have a new episode. Thank you to Hunter. And don't forget, our annual fundraiser is coming up on August 29th, and we will have our car, cruise, or $20,000 giveaway. Go to southwestregionalchamber.org to find out more about it and how you can get tickets. Thanks, and have a great day.